He thought it was just another drive home. Quiet streets, fading daylight, nothing unusual. But in the blink of an eye, red and blue lights filled his rearview mirror. A police officer approached, suspicion in his eyes, hand hovering near his weapon. What began as an ordinary stop was about to spiral into a confrontation that would expose deep prejudice and reveal a shocking truth the officer never saw coming. It had been an ordinary day, the kind of day he had lived countless times before. Work was done, the sun was setting low, and he was finally heading home. The familiar hum of the engine, the same route, the same neighborhoods, nothing unusual, nothing to fear. At least that's what he thought. His life was simple but disciplined. Every evening followed the same routine, every detail of his day carefully measured. A man who kept to himself, who believed that doing everything right meant staying safe. But in America, for some, safety isn't guaranteed, no matter how carefully you live. As he drove past the dim streetlights, a shadow of unease slipped in. A car slowed in the opposite lane, its headlights lingering just a little too long. He brushed it off. Just another driver, maybe lost. Still, his eyes returned to the rearview mirror more than once. The neighborhood looked ordinary, but beneath the stillness there was a tension he couldn't name. A silence that seemed too sharp, too watchful. He adjusted his grip on the wheel, telling himself there was nothing to worry about. But safety has a way of vanishing in a heartbeat. And in the very next moment, the ordinary drive home was about to become a night he would never forget. The sudden flash of sirens broke the calm. His stomach sank as he pulled to the side of the road, headlights washing over his car. The officer approached quickly, his stride sharp, his tone harsher than the night required. "License and registration," the officer barked. There was no greeting, no reason given, just an assumption, wrapped in authority. The man complied, his voice steady, though his chest tightened with each second. He knew this tone. He had felt it before. It wasn't about a broken taillight. It wasn't about traffic. It was about him. "Where are you going?" the officer demanded. "Home," he replied simply. But the questions didn't stop. Where had he been? Why this neighborhood? Why this time of night? Each question dug deeper, searching for fault where there was none. The man's answers were calm, measured, almost rehearsed, because in truth they were. Every person who has lived this reality knows the script. Hands visible, words careful, patience endless. Yet still, the officer's suspicion grew. His flashlight scanned the car, his posture tense, his hand never far from his holster. It wasn't a traffic stop anymore. It was an interrogation. And with every passing second, the man felt the weight of history pressing down. This wasn't just about him. It was about every face like his that had been stopped, questioned, accused, simply for existing in the wrong place at the wrong time. The officer's hand lingered near his holster, a gesture that spoke louder than words. The night air thickened, every second stretching like it might snap. He stood still, his hands raised slightly, his breathing controlled, his heart pounding so loud it drowned out the crickets in the dark. "Don't move," the officer barked, his voice sharp with suspicion. One wrong motion, one misunderstood glance, and this story could end in tragedy. The man reached slowly for his wallet, every move deliberate. The license slipped into the officer's hand. A flashlight beam swept across the card, pausing on the name, the details, and then silence. The officer's brow furrowed. His posture shifted. He glanced back at the man, then again at the ID. The confidence in his stance cracked, replaced with a flicker of recognition. This wasn't the man he thought he had stopped. This wasn't just another target. What he held in his hand wasn't just a driver's license. It was something far more powerful. Credentials that carried weight far beyond the street they stood on. The realization hit like thunder. He had chosen the wrong man. For a moment, the officer froze, caught between arrogance and fear. The flashlight trembled ever so slightly, the mask of authority slipping. The balance of power had shifted, and now the truth was about to come crashing down. The officer's hand slowly dropped from his holster. His tone shifted, words now hesitant, scrambling to cover what moments earlier had been pure authority. He had realized the mistake. But the damage was already done. The man stood steady, silent, letting the weight of the truth settle. He didn't need to argue. He didn't need to raise his voice. The badge tucked inside his wallet spoke louder than anything he could have said. It revealed who he really was and exposed how dangerously wrong the stop had been. The officer stepped back, uneasy, suddenly aware of how close he had come to crossing a line that could never be erased. But for the man, this wasn't just about one night. It was about every night, every stop, every assumption. Yes, this time he walked away alive. This time, the truth forced respect where there had been suspicion. But what about the others who never carried such protection? What about the millions of moments when truth wasn't enough to save a life? He drove home that night changed, the flashing lights still burning in his mind. Not because of who he was, but because of what it proved. That even when you've done everything right, even when you carry authority of your own, racism still has the power to turn safety into danger in a matter of seconds. And as he closed his door behind him, one thought remained. If this could happen to him, how many others were out there, unseen, unheard, carrying the same fear every single day? The question hangs in the air still. How many more stops, how many more stories, before change finally comes?